I really recommend that if you're into the visualization practices with energy work, to really pursue that with a lama out there, many lamas, female, male, and everybody in between. Well, maybe not so many, but a good amount of lamas out there could teach you these visualizations and how to transfer around your energies. Um, in this group, you won't find those instructions. I'm not going to explain how to do visualizations in depth. I feel like many lamas out there you could learn that from. And so I basically follow the curriculum that I told you before. And if you ask me how to practice, I will give you, I'll say, well, you connected with Dzogchen, you connected with this group. So you can try it out. Try the 4 stages. See if you can keep it simple here. And then maybe add on to that your yoga and everything is fine. But really try Dzogchen in a bare bones kind of way is my recommendation, of course. So, all right, let's hear it, Yeshe.
Hello. It's being recorded. During the completion stage, the term bodhicitta also refers to the result of the union of male and female energies, which is enlightenment, the goal of transformation. We may sum up this discussion of tantric bodhicitta with a succinct quote from David Snellgrove's introduction to the Hevajra Tantra. Although the two conceptions are essentially the same, one may regard the bodhicitta under two aspects. One, as the consummation of Vajra and Lotus, when it is envisaged in the mystic state as the moon, which melts in the 1,000-petaled lotus at the summit of the head and flows through the whole body, pervading it with bliss. Or, two, as the seed, the source of existence, samsaric, and therefore the starting point, bindu, of the mandala. Dzogchen differs from both the sutric path of renunciation and the tantric path of transformation in its understanding of bodhicitta. In Dzogchen, bodhicitta refers to the natural state of the individual. It is synonymous with the state of total completeness and sheer presence. Its special method for realization of the natural state is known as intrinsic freedom. As in Sutra, bodhicitta in Dzogchen encompasses compassion in both its relative and absolute aspects, as Longchenpa, quoting from the Kunya Galpo, indicates. Compassion does not arise, does not cease, and is selfless. Therefore, being for others is always present. It need not come about. But from the Dzogchen perspective, sutric compassion is contrived, constructed by the individual as the means to an end. The intrinsic freedom of Dzogchen reveals that nothing in the individual can be constructed or changed. The direct realization of our own inalienable natural state, our own bodhicitta, spontaneously entails compassion, since such an awareness is also an awareness that others are ignorant of the natural state. It must be remembered that, as taught in Buddhism, compassion is not just love, kindness, and caring for the welfare of others, but is also a knowledge of the fundamental causes of unhappiness and of the definitive means for uprooting them. Thus, without a knowledge of your natural state, compassion will always be contrived. In the Sutra teaching, there is no defect in this, since no other method of compassion is available. Regarding the passions,
Uh,
hmm,
yeah, I just wanted to say that that's a very telling, powerful line there. That your compassion is already here, and we've all seen it. We've all been children. At least we can look back to our childhood before we got rough a little and maybe started hiding a little bit, started becoming selective with our compassion, right? That's one of the things that was a great kicker for me because I didn't feel very strong compassion towards people as much as I did towards animals. So that's my kind of issue, you know. Um, but thanks to settling into my natural compassion, I found a deep, deep empathy and compassion for my fellow sentient beings, humans. Um, this is, I think, always here with us, okay? That naturalness, that natural kindness. So it's when our anxiety and things start to fall away that we see that we can actually see our own innate compassion. All right.
hmm. Regarding the passions, Longchenpa states, so then, not eliminating passions, as do those who are content with preaching and listening or being independent, or refining away passions as do bodhisattvas, not transforming them as the tantrics do. These judgmentally conditioned passions are pure and transparent in their own place. This is called the spontaneously perfect, universally creative, self generating, majestic state of pure presence. And here lies the distinguishing superiority of this approach over all others. By means of this sheer presence, whatever passions arise are freed as facets of pristine awareness. Thus, one definitely gets in touch with, right now, the naturally perfect state of Buddhahood.
And does it end there?
No, it's me. I needed the break. Like, oh, yeah,
Oh, very
yeah.
nice. You just resting in your natural Buddhahood?
I wish, because right now that didn't happen. I like, ooh, yeah.
Oh, are you getting uncomfortable?
No, 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 just acknowledging it, you know.
Okay.
Uh, uh,
All
hmm.
right. Yeah, it's really nice to have you reading. You know, speaking of acknowledging, I've heard the path of transformation called they're called tantrikas. So to me, they keep calling them tantrikas. That means that we're Dzogchenpas, not tantrikas. But a lot of the times people want to throw in Dzogchen into tantra and say it's tantra. But well, in a way it is because tantra just means continuum of the teachings, and it is a continuum of the teachings. But in regards to being tantra, it's really kind of not when it comes down to how we classify tantra. So this is a really for me it's been such a trip separating Dzogchen out from everything with you all. It's been pretty cool actually, and we're actually benefiting from this bare bones Dzogchen, just as many masters have said. So very cool stuff. I'm very, very proud of this text. This is a great translation from what, about 15 years ago, 14 years ago, and really breaking down the nine yanas correctly. Um, if you haven't seen the nine yanas video, I gave a brief summary of those. It's important because if you ever want to contextualize your practice or your teachings, give context, then if you keep in mind the nine yanas, you'll know exactly where you're at. And then it's also a little bit better when you visit teachers and retreats and things like that because you know exactly which context you're in. I'm not going to say any names, but I remember a while ago, wow, I have this hummingbird that's just right in front of me right now saying hi, good morning. Okay. So, um, for example, I went to this one Dzogchen retreat and there was not a mention of Dzogchen. It was all about Nundro. And so, yeah, everybody paid the money, everything, and they didn't even get a Dzogchen retreat. So for me, it's really great to do this thing that we do here, um, and this text is moving up, and it's in my top 5 now. I think this text is moving up in rank. I don't even own the text, but I might have to get it after this. Okay, so yeah, Yeshe, as long as you're comfortable, let's hear some more. And if at any time you need me to take over, just let me know, okay?
Hmm. What does it mean that judgmentally conditioned passions are pure and transparent in their own place? Tantrism frees the passions from their judgmentally governed state of conflict by transforming them into their primordially pure state of awareness energy, bodhicitta being the name for the basis and goal of this process. The passions, in their profane form, are understood to be distortions, deflections of their essentially divine quality. They only need to be transformed by an inner alchemical process, which is based on this correspondence between the profane and the sacred. Dzogchen's method for liberating the passions rests on their intrinsic freedom. Passions are self-liberated, naturally freed in their own dimension, the dimension of the total field of events and meanings. Self-liberation occurs when we realize our natural state, bodhicitta, which is the state of sheer presence, the state of total completeness, the supreme ordering principle of the universe. This understanding of bodhicitta, Byangchup Sims, in Dzogchen, which in the text,
Jangchop, Jangchop,
thank you.
Jangchop Sem.
Jangchup Sim.
See, Sem means mind. So, Jangchop means compassion. So, the mind of compassion.
Thank you. Jangchup Sims in Dzogchen. This understanding of bodhicitta in Dzogchen, which in the text is anthropomorphized as Kunyat literally translated as the king who creates everything, might invite comparisons with theism. The syllables of these terms are explained in the root text as follows. The term all kun refers to all that is. If it is asked, what is all that is? The answer is teachers, teachings, audiences, situations, and times are all and everything. The term to
Wait,
make,
by the way, that's spelled different. That's why I just looked at the text. It's spelled Byang. Again, that's the Wiley. Um, so normally you'll see Jangchop Jang. Okay, so if you ever see that again, but here they use the male form of Kunye Galpo, saying the all creating king, whereas we've heard it the all creating mother, or even in a kind of androgynous neutral form. I really don't like the king translation. I wish hopefully we could start abandoning that. It's too patriarchal for me. But here's something very cool being said. One of the first people ever, I really want to meet Kennard Lippman now because I feel like I've been saying some of this stuff for a while and I've never heard anybody else say it. He's talking about how it could seem theistic. I've been saying that about the Kunyigapo forever. In fact, some people think that they're talking about God in the Kunyigapo, the all creating king, right? It's God. And imagine that's probably where people got confused because the Kunyigapo is quite old and this kind of I guess we could say epistemological approach is a sutric based approach where it says I created the trees, I created the clouds, I created the sun, and so it's easy for somebody to read part of that and say, "Wow, there's a creator." There's an all creating monarch out there. But if you never read the whole entire text, you'll never see that they're talking about your own mind, which to me is can be very empowering, right? Very fascinating. So I just wanted to remark on Lama Lippman's amazing insight here once again.
the term to make, yet, refers to the doer, because self-refreshing, pristine awareness makes everything. Teachers, teachings, audiences, situations, and times. It is the doer. The term king, Gyalpo, refers to the very core of reality. Self-refreshing, pristine awareness, that which makes everything and is sovereign over all. It rules over everything in making all that is. The meaning of the term pure jam is as follows: the very core of reality, pure and total presence, is self-refreshing and primordially pure. Thus, it is the supreme ordering principle in the universe, which fashions everything. Since it is pure in being wholly positive, it is explained with the term pure. The meaning of the term total, true, is as follows. The very core of reality, self-refreshing pristine awareness, encompasses everything, pervades everything. All that appears and the beings for whom it appears, all environments and their inhabitants, the three times, all those who have awakened to their full capacity, the three realms and their six life forms, sentient beings, actuality, everything. This explains the term total. The meaning of the term mind, sense, is as follows. The very core of reality, self-refreshing pristine awareness, knows all that appears, the beings for whom it appears, all environments and their inhabitants. It has power over them and clearly defines them. This explains the term mind. Kunye is a name for the natural state of every individual, each of whom is the locus for the non-dual manifestation of the field of experience, known as a mandala. A mandala possesses the five aspects of teacher, the creative center, teaching, message transmitted, audience, receivers, situation, spatial setting, and time, temporal setting. H.V. Gunther has pointed out that the aspect of teacher as the creative center performs many of the same functions as that of the God idea in the West. One occasionally finds clear statements of such a non-dual presence in Western theological terms, as in the following Kabbalistic account as to how the Sephirot, God's instruments or vessels of creation, manifest themselves out of the limitless Ein Sof. Just as forms are reflected in a mirror, the Sephirot are the template and form for everything that exists. But they are not additions to the Ein Sof, just as what is seen in a mirror does not add to it. The creative intelligence of the universe as mandala is what we could today call the intrinsic intelligence of self-organizing, self-regulating systems which have no need of an external agent, will, design, or law, where we experience ourselves as an object over against other objects. We call this mind, which is the creative energy of the universe, but not creativity itself, just as reflections are not the reflective surface of a mirror itself. The mirror surface cannot be tainted or transformed by any reflections appearing on it. In this analogy lies the key to understanding the meaning of bodhicitta, our natural state. Longchenpa explains.
Oh, yeah, that could have been a little confusing there, just sliding in a Kabbalah term with the Tibetan term. So you're right, Dongju. Yeah, but very interesting term if you look into it. Um, Pretty good correlate. Um, but that's the type of sloppy writing that sometimes really mixes people up. You just snuck in a Kabbalah term with Tibetan terms. So, but as long as we're clear, and also to be clear, I used a sutric translation of Janchup Sem. They went on to give us a more Dzogchen translation and context for that Janchup Sem, pure total, which means purifying all obstacles, right? This is really talking about this aspect of your mind, everybody. Eh, if you're among the 11 people here today and possibly seeing this on YouTube, then I'm very, very happy for you because you're connecting to a part of your mind that is free of these kind of defilements and distortions. And this self-resolution is guaranteed for you. Uh, as much as you're going to step into that is going to be dependent on your karmic momentum and your trust. Trust is a huge factor here. I hope none of you are just coming to this group like half-heartedly following it, because that's just wasting time and energy. Um, you have to really test this out. Is this true that there's a part of my mind that I can come into, that I can realize, and it will liberate all confusion? And there's some really profound, bold, grand statements made in these last paragraphs. So this is something we can all ask ourselves. You know, can awareness be like this mirror that never gets affected by reflections? Is there a part of your mind that's like the mirror itself? Yeah. Yeah, and Jetson shares here, En Sof. I imagine Sof comes from Sophia, wisdom, and Ein may be one, so one wisdom, but that's just my rough guess right now. Is understood as God prior to any self-manifestation and the production of any spiritual realm, probably derived from Solomon, Gabriel's term, the endless one. Okay, so Sof means, and I think Sof is much more likely to mean wisdom, but so anyway, that's a very interesting term and probably has a long history because, of course, um, Judaism goes back quite a bit, and I feel like there was a war on Judaism too, where they basically took out the inner yoga aspect of Judaism, and now everybody thinks Judaism is what Israel's doing. You know, when Israel is like the greatest distortion of Judaism. We got to be very careful never to associate the Jewish faith with what governments are doing. Yeah, it's not fair. You have actually a genocide happening in Myanmar, Burma too, headed up by Buddhist monastics. Yeah, Buddhist monks, bald, genociding people. So we can never really. That's why I think there's some truth to all these religions and spiritualities. It's just been severely co-opted and distorted and things like that. But thanks to Dzogchen, we have the key that fits every hole. Okay, I have time today. I can't drive anywhere with a busted window, so I, and I don't even I ran out of work for now, so I'm down to listen to more of this section. I don't need to go anywhere just yet. You're okay, Yeshe? All right, let's continue to dive in.
Longchenpa explains the meaning of bodhicitta, Jiang Chupsems, as follows. The term Jiang is used because samsara has never been experienced as something existent in the view of the fact that the facticity of pure awareness has never been tainted. The term Shu is used because in this visualizing power capabilities are spontaneously present And this is because its actuality exists as the possibility of rising as anything. The term SEM is used because of the fact that responsiveness to the solicitation of actuality is present in all encompassing way, so that by its lucency both samsara and nirvana are encompassed, and because it comes as an individual experience. Since the ordinary mind and its mental events with their host of dividing thoughts make their appearance out of the creativity of playful energy in impure forms, they are not Jiangsu Sems, and since they contradict the latter, because they are samsaric mind, there is a great difference between creativity as such and what appears as playfulness deriving from creativity.
Okay. Yes, so just like a moth, we end up bouncing off and killing ourselves in our own reflections. So unlike the moth, now we can see that this is our mind. It's beautiful. It can actually be beautiful even in times of sickness and death. Beautiful in the broad term, okay? Beautiful in terms of sometimes when you're crying because a sentient being has been lost or injured, that's beauty. You know, they say that the devas envy us because they cannot have that deep empathy. So, um, I also want to mention apparently, Kenneth Lippman is also a rabbi. So he's a rabbi and a PhD. So we're getting a kind of very interesting perspective on this. Um, I never thought a rabbi would be one of the closest kind of, I really feel like he's got it figured out and probably has actual realization as well. So, uh, a rabbi, that's like a rabbit except shorter, smaller, a smaller form of a rabbit. Just kidding. I had to. I had to, man. Sorry about that. A rabbi is like a Jewish teacher. Okay. But I think it'd be interesting to have him here, do a little Q&A. Feel him out, see if he has a real realization like I'm thinking he does. So I'm going to try to contact if any of you have, I mean, LinkedIn is always pretty a good way, but a small rabbit is something. Not quite a rabbit. It hasn't earned the T. Yeah, maybe somebody can spell rabbi there for him. So anyway, I think he'd be an interesting guest. We haven't had a guest in a while, too. We used to have guests a little bit more frequently. We've had, monks from Sri Lanka and great speakers and various monastics and teachers. So if I do that again, Dr. Justin, who is that? Esoterica. Oh,
I know it's a great guy. Yeah, it's yeah. I had the other day a video and yeah, this guy really knows about what he's talking about in a very precious way, like Nagahamadi and correlating with some other text. And wow,
oh,
yep.
sweet. Oh, okay. He's not a rabbi, he's a rabbit. We're watching the same channels. That's awesome. So glad you all found each other. All right, well, I'm still interested in this text. I know it's the top of the hour. Um, maybe we should stop. Is this where we're at? Let us comment on this passage word for word. Okay. Yeah, because we just left that play phone screen.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really interested in this next section. So can we read it?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Let us comment on this passage word for word. Bodhicitta is the natural state, the basis or ground, ji, of an individual's being. Here, pure awareness or pure presence, rigpa, is a synonym for bodhicitta. Because of its specific understanding of bodhicitta, Dzogchen has a special method, self-liberation or intrinsic freedom, rangrol, for accomplishing it directly, without resorting to methods of renunciation, refinement, purification, or transformation. The natural state is divided into three aspects, which the three components of the Tibetan word Jangchub Sems explain. The first aspect is referred to by the phrase the fact of pure awareness, which means the pure beingness of the natural state, its essence, ngobo. It is explained by the word jang, pure, because, like the reflective capacity of a mirror, it has never been, nor can it ever be tainted by the reflections which appear on it. This is also referred to by the term primordial purity, kadak, and void, empty, open, no thing, tongpa. Thus, from this standpoint, samsara has never been experienced as something that exists, just like a reflection in a mirror is not something real in itself. The second term, chub, means to realize or understand. It explains how the primordial basis presents itself in actuality, its nature, rangjim. That is, although the basis, natural state, is nothing, like the capacity of a mirror to reflect, it is not a mere nothing. Reflections are always present and anything can be reflected. Longchenpa says that capabilities are spontaneously present. Capabilities, Yangtan, refers to how our nature manifests itself out of our primordial basis. These are usually referred to as Buddha qualities. The term Buddha was translated into Tibetan as Sannyas, one who can woken up to his or her capacities, whose capacities can manifest, radiate, and expand because they are no longer ignorant of the natural state. As we have explained, other paths, based on the principle of cause and effect, gradually remove this ignorance to reveal these capacities. But here, in Dzogchen, it is said that the capabilities are spontaneously present. The mirror is not just a pure, open possibility to reflect. It also clearly, effortlessly, naturally reflects whatever is present. Thus, this second facet is characterized by the terms radiant, salba, and spontaneously present Jung. One might ask, isn't there a difference between the spontaneous presence of Buddha capacities and the presence of the impure samsaric phenomena that I experience right now? It depends on our perspective. The third aspect helps us understand why. The third aspect, the responsiveness of our primordial state to whatever presents itself, is indicated by the term energy, Zugje, which corresponds to mind, sense. That is, we are the locus of being, which is a pure, open possibility, presenting itself in radiant clarity. The process of experiencing, of being open and responsive to what presents itself has energy, momentum. We can experience this energy openly, without judgment, or we can become confused and distracted by it and regard it judgmentally. In either case, the energy remains that of the natural state, the primordial basis of our being. The mirror analogy can illuminate this. If we know that we are the mirror itself, we do not experience the reflections judgmentally. However, if we feel that we are looking at the mirror's reflections from a standpoint outside it, then we make dualistic judgments about what we see. This is what is meant by the ordinary mind appearing out of the creativity of playful energy in impure forms. It is important to understand this responsiveness without judgments in order to understand the unique method of Dzogchen, self-liberation. The famous 19th century Dzogchen master Patrul Rinpoche explained self-liberation concretely and precisely. The practitioner of self-liberation is like an ordinary person as far as the way in which the thoughts of pleasure and pain, hope and fear manifest themselves as this creative energy. However, the ordinary person, taking these really seriously and judging them as acceptable or rejecting them, continues to get caught up in situations and becomes conditioned by attachment and aversion. Not doing this, a practitioner, when such thoughts arise, experiences freedom in either of three ways. Initially, by recognizing the thought for what it is freed just like meeting a previous acquaintance. Then it is freed in and of itself, like a snake shedding its skin. And finally, thought is freed in being unable to be of benefit or harm, like a thief entering an empty house.
Okay. Are you smiling for the same reason I'm smiling? We were just talking about this, yes, in the last session and before we read this. A slightly variant of the three modes of self-liberation. I like snake untying itself better than snake shedding its skin, but I suppose it could be like that in certain contexts. It's important to compare these things to the texture of your own experience. Does it feel like you're untying yourself, or does it feel like you're kind of shedding things? It's up to you to really see that. This is not to be memorized and learned. This is to be accessed in your direct experience, right? That's why we talk about it, because when we mentioned the three modes of liberation, all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I felt that way before with my thoughts. So it's very good to mention these and well naturally remember stuff. That's another part of Dzogchen. you begin to have the ability to remember things and use your intellect uh, in a much more proficient way. And I feel like there's a better flow and your memory works better for sure. Even if you're stubborn like me, I run away from things that I know, and you probably do that too. You know that everything's dreamlike. You know that all this is just the energy of your mind, but we still get highly involved in these situations. So very cool though. This text does seem to be having quite a synchronicity with our group in the past week that we've been reading it or whatever. Very interesting too to have this perspective is very unique. I haven't heard many people that really mm, put it all together like this. Mm.
Many people spend years believing they are practicing Dzogchen, while they are actually practicing calm or insight meditation. Freeing or liberating thought does not mean ignoring, letting go of, being indifferent to, observing, or even not having thoughts. It means being present in hope and fear, pain and pleasure, not as objects before us, but as the radiant clarity of our natural state. Thus, anger, for example, when experienced dualistically, is an irritation which we may indulge in or reject, depending on our conditioning. Either way, we are caught up in it and act out of it. But when aware of anger as a manifestation of clarity, its energy is a very fresh awareness of the particulars of the situation. However, these particulars are no longer irritating. What the state of pure and total presence, Changchun Sem, is, how to find it, and how to continue with it are the subjects discussed by Longchenpa, the greatest philosopher mystic of this ancient teaching. Wow, I agree.
What's your reaction, Yeshe?
I agree with the last statement. Because I have entertained. It's like the more yeah, the more I'm, reading Longchenpa is like I never read text with such clarity in all levels. Like um, the images, the the so accurate. It just says
Yeah,
enough.
a lot of those are based on yogic dohas too. The simplicity of it all. There was a tradition that many of these have been lost, but that simplicity definitely resonates with me too.